Did you know some brand new SUVs are sitting at dealerships for nearly a year without selling a single unit? We're not talking about forgotten old stock or discontinued models. These are shiny, current-year vehicles that dealers simply can't move, no matter how much they advertise. And the reasons might shock you. It's not always about price. Sometimes it's reputation, sometimes design flaws, and sometimes it's just the car industry completely misreading what buyers actually want. So let's dive into the cars and SUVs that dealerships can't sell and uncover why they're stacking up on lots across the country. The luxury problem. Lincoln Navigator. The Lincoln Navigator was once the biggest SUV on the block, now prefers something a little more refined or tech-focused. The Navigator, despite being plush, feels outdated against rivals like Cadillac's Escalade or European brands. Even worse, Lincoln's brand image just doesn't carry the same prestige it once did. And while the Navigator struggles to find a purpose, another category is also collapsing. Flashy new EVs, the EV gamble, Hyundai Ioniq 6. Hyundai poured money into the Ioniq 6, aiming to compete with Tesla in the electric sedan market. On paper, it had everything: futuristic styling, strong range, and Hyundai's improving reputation in EV technology. But in reality, it's stuck on dealer lots with over 260 days of supply. Why? Because the American market isn't asking for electric sedans. They want electric SUVs and crossovers. The Ioniq 6, despite being advanced, is fighting uphill against consumer tastes. Add in concerns about charging networks, range anxiety, and that polarizing design, and you've got a recipe for showroom dust collectors. But EV struggles aren't the only reason cars fail. Sometimes it comes down to a brand's biggest weakness: reliability. The reliability trap. Land Rover Discovery Sport. If there's one brand notorious for scaring off buyers, it's Land Rover. The Discovery Sport is a perfect example. With nearly 270 days of unsold supply, this SUV is suffering not because it lacks luxury, but because it lacks trust. Car shoppers have long memories, and Land Rover's reputation for frequent breakdowns and expensive repairs hasn't gone away. Add a hefty price tag on top, and you've got an SUV most people won't touch, even with discounts. Reliability can destroy even the most stylish vehicles. But some cars don't fail because of reliability. They fail because they make absolutely no sense in the lineup. The overlap mistake. Audi Q8. Audi has a problem with the Q8. It's meant to be a sleek, coupe-styled SUV, but the issue is simple. The Q7 exists, and the Q7 is cheaper, more practical, and in many ways better. So why would anyone pay more for the Q8? Dealers are now sitting on about 270 days of Q8 stock, and buyers keep choosing the more versatile Q7 instead. The Q8 was supposed to be stylish and aspirational, but in practice it feels redundant, like buying the same car twice, only paying extra for less space. And while the Q8 is stuck in no man's land, another car is struggling for the opposite reason: being way too small and impractical. The tiny EV nobody wants, Fiat 500e, the Fiat 500e, is proof that not every European success translates to the US market. This tiny electric hatchback offers only about 141 miles of range and costs far more than most buyers think it should. For Americans used to bigger cars and long drives, the 500e just doesn't cut it. Dealers now have nearly 300 days worth of unsold 500e models, and it's not hard to see why. Between cramped interior space, limited range, and a price that doesn't make sense, buyers are avoiding it in droves. But while the 500e is too small, another SUV is failing for being too big and way too expensive. The giant miscalculation. Jeep Grand Wagoneer. The Jeep Grand Wagoneer might be the most ambitious and disastrous SUV in this list. Jeep wanted to step into ultra-luxury territory, pricing this SUV at over $110,000. On paper, it's packed with features: plush leather, tech everywhere, and massive presence. But here's the problem. When most people think Jeep, they think rugged off-roaders and affordable adventure vehicles. They don't think Bentley or Mercedes-level luxury. That brand mismatch has left dealers with nearly a year's worth of unsold Grand Wagoneers. Jeep tried to punch above its weight class, but instead the Grand Wagoneer has become a cautionary tale. And it's not just SUVs that are failing. Even iconic sedans are running into trouble. The sedan decline, BMW 5 Series. The BMW 5 Series was once the dream car for executives, a perfect mix of performance and luxury, but today dealers have over 300 days of unsold supply. Why? Because sedans are dying. SUVs and crossovers have eaten away at sedan demand, and even loyal BMW buyers are moving toward models like the X5 and X7. The 5 Series, while still refined, no longer feels like the ultimate status symbol it once was. Instead, it's quietly becoming irrelevant in a market that now values height and space over driving dynamics. But perhaps the biggest disappointment comes from a car that was supposed to be a nostalgic comeback. The nostalgia fail, Nissan Z. The Nissan Z has legendary roots, stretching back to the 1970s when it was one of the most exciting sports cars around. So when Nissan announced a new version, fans were thrilled. But that excitement hasn't translated to sales. With over 2,000 units sitting unsold and nearly a year's worth of supply, the Z has turned into a niche product. Why? Sports cars are already a small market, and the Z faces competition from both cheaper options and higher performance icons. For most buyers, it's not practical enough to daily drive and not exciting enough to justify as a weekend toy. Nostalgia may sell headlines, but it doesn't always sell cars. What these failures really mean. So what do all these unsold cars have in common? They're not just bad vehicles. In fact, many of them are excellent in isolation. The real problem is that automakers misread the market. Lincoln clung to an outdated formula. Hyundai pushed the wrong kind of EV. Land Rover never fixed its trust problem. Audi overlapped its own lineup. Fiat brought the wrong car to the wrong market. Jeep priced itself into a brand identity crisis. BMW underestimated the SUV wave. And Nissan thought nostalgia alone could carry a car. It's a reminder that in today's auto industry, success isn't about building the most powerful, the most luxurious, or even the most nostalgic car. It's about knowing what people actually want and timing it perfectly. So here's the real question. Which of today's hot-selling SUVs will be the next to fail? Because if history tells us anything, the market always has surprises waiting just around the corner.